Tra-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la. It is time for... Welcome to Computer Compulsive. It's the Marcintosh Live edition. This is Sunday Night Live coming to you from Craig's basement. And today we've chosen to do something a little on the simpler side. Some of the previous things we've tried have failed rather miserably. So today we're going to do something simple. A few years back, a friend of mine from church told me he was walking his dog and there was a truckload of used Mac stuff in the back alley. This guy was throwing a bunch of stuff out. So amongst the things that were being thrown out were a Power Mac 4400, a Power Mac 8100, a Power Mac 8500, an old Epson printer, numerous SE30 tubes and power supplies. The tubes had been necked, unfortunately. But I went ahead and I just went to this place and I just picked up a whole bunch of stuff. The 8100 had a G3 accelerator in it. The 4400 had a G3 accelerator in it, Sonnet. The 8100 had the newer tech. It's just all this stuff was going to be thrown in the dump. And I was just like, nope, not on my watch. Thanks. So today we're going to take the one of the machines that I picked up was this Mac Classic, and we're going to take a look inside of it in a bit, but we're going to take the guts out of this and we're going to put them into this nice case. Look at how pretty that is. So this has been retrobrited by Keith, and he's very good at it, and this thing looks amazing. You might be thinking, well, that says Classic too, Craig. How come you have a Classic? We'll talk about that in just a bit. So before we do that, though, wanted to send a shout out to a good friend of mine, and this is super special. So here we have a Sony Walkman WM4 from like 1985, and this thing is very special to me. I bought this from my dad. You saw the Red Seal radio technician. Well, I happened to find somebody in Calgary who is kind of like my dad. He's very smart. He fixes televisions. He has restored several CRTs for me, and this is his logo here, and it's a dirty floppy. Check. He's on Instagram. This guy is so smart. He has resurrected logic boards, analog boards. He totally rebuilt this Walkman. This Walkman is better than brand new. New belts, new capacitors, completely cleaned, ultrasonic cleaned. It is immaculate. And the reason I like this Walkman is because you can put 4 AA batteries in here. So the battery life, it plays for a long time. And it also has, this is pretty cool, 2 headphone outputs. So the 2 headphone outputs allows us to have, you can listen, 2 people can be listening, and the headphone amp is very loud. We've got a switch here from metal to normal, depending on the type of tape you're listening to. For those of you that are too young, there was different types of tapes back in the day. But the other thing we're going to do with this is we're going to use this in a future video to load programs, because back in the day, check that out. Little Brick Out, 1979. This is an actual Apple computer cassette. Before Disc 2 systems came out, you had to load programs with a cassette. And so I remember when my dad got an Apple II Plus, and I actually had to load programs from the cassette player. We're going to use this newly refurbished Sony Walkman to load this program into one of our Apple IIs. So I'm super jazzed about doing a video for that. But if you need something rebuilt, if you need a CRT rebuilt or vintage tech modified, I would highly recommend you talk to my friend Dirty Floppy. Check it out on Instagram. That's his avatar. You should be able to find him. He resurrected the CRT in my Monaco GP Environmental. He rebuilt my Multiscan 17 Apple display. Crazy smart. Just absolutely brilliant. So I wanted to send a shout out to him before I do anything, because he has brought back to life a lot of my favorite things. So let's get down to business with the transplant of the Classic into the Classic 2 case. So this Classic that I picked up, I'm not a big Classic fan. I'm just gonna, so I go back to the other angle here. There we go. Classics are kind of weird because when they did the Classic in 1990, there was 3 sets of machines that they did, and it was the LC, the Classic, and I think the 2SI were the 3 machines in 1990 that came out. So this is a Mac Classic. It's manufactured April 1991. But what's funky about this thing is when I opened it up to look at it, I noticed there was something weird with it. So I'm just going to go back to the split view here. So we're going to take a look at the back, and you can see I've already taken the screws out to make this simpler. So we've got our logic board here. We're going to take the back off, and then you're going to see there's something weird with this thing. So I'm just going to gently take this off of here. Just ever so gently so we don't wreck the neck. Okay, so for those of you paying close attention, you'll notice there's an extra jack over here. And I did not notice that right away, but you see the ADB port is here. And then we've got, this is a microphone input. But on the back, there is no microphone input jack. It's blacked out. So I was going to drill a hole through here, and Keith said, "Well, hang on a second. I've got a brand new Classic 2 case that you can put all that stuff in." So you can see on the Classic 2 case, there is the microphone hole right here. See? So the Classic 2 case has an extra hole in the back for the microphone input. The original Classic did not have a microphone input. The Classic 2 did. So when I took the Classic 2 apart, I didn't realize it was a Classic 2 until I looked at the logic board and I thought, wait a minute, this thing's got a 68030 in it. Why does it have an 030? And then I thought, hold on, someone did a logic board upgrade to this thing. So this isn't just a regular Classic, this is a Classic 2 that they were throwing out. And so today's assignment is I wanted to put all the stuff from this Classic into the nice Classic 2 case. So again, I'm not a huge fan of the Classic, but it's good to have kind of one of each vintage. So you'll see up above me, I've got my SE. The rest of the family's kind of out and about. I'm doing a lot of tinkering with the 512s and the SE30s. I'm trying to do some content for some acceleration videos for those. That'll come at another date. So let's start taking stuff out of here, and we're going to gently transplant the innards from the Classic into the Classic 2 case. And just wanted to share the process with you. This is an easy thing to do. I did put a different drive in this thing. The drive that's in here, I think it was when I put in my 2SI, but I've actually got four Apple drives in my drawer, and I'm not sure if they're good. We're going to test them because it would be really cool to put an original 40 megabyte drive back into this thing. So make it like it was when it came from the factory. So I'm just going to go to the overhead view, and we're going to start gently taking this stuff apart. Let's disable the, we're going to start by removing the hard drive. Another piece of news for you. I'm a big video game enthusiast, and so in Calgary 1 week ago, I actually won the Boogie's Burgers Ms. Pac-Man competition. So there were 16 finalists, and I got the highest score and won the competition for a 3rd year in a row, which means that I can no longer, sorry, I'll switch the angle here. I can no longer enter anymore. Once you win 3 times, they kick you out. So that's fine, but so as the grand prize winner, I get to enjoy a free hamburger, once a week for 52 weeks. I don't normally eat that many because you'll have a heart attack if you had hamburgers every week like that. All right, so you can see there is our logic board, and there's 2 DIMM slots in here. I think there's 2 on the logic board, and I put another 2 and 2. So I think this thing has 6. So yeah, there's the 68030 16 right there. So when I saw that, I'm like, this is not a classic logic board. This is a classic 2. So that was kind of cool. So I'm just going to set that aside here. We're going to continue removing some of these components. We've got, yeah, there's nothing in the other case, so it's absolutely blank. I'll put that SCSI cable over there. The battery was removed from this. I do have the new improved battery sockets to go in that don't explode and blow up everything. So that's exciting. We're going to gently remove the CRT bolts here. The CRT is, you have to be careful with it. This has a bleeder resistor, and so it does discharge itself over time. Did do a video of putting this back together a while back, but I did not post it because it was kind of late at night and it was kind of quiet. So this will be hopefully a more streamlined stream. Again, we're doing very simple things today. We're not doing anything crazy. We're simply moving components from one case to another. This will be one of the nicest Macs I have, thanks to the lovely retrobriting that Keith did to the case. So for those of you Mac enthusiasts, we are in Marcintosh. It is a great time of celebration when vintage Mac enthusiasts around the world get together and post what they're working on, what they're doing, and why. There's a lot of great stuff. If you go to Tinker Different or 68K MLA, you can definitely check out some of the other projects that people are working on, which is exciting. Lots of neat things. There's something called Global Talk, where people are able to print out pictures on other people's machines, which is very neat. I want to kind of get that checked out at some point, where I can take connect to other people's machines and do some more kind of networking, not just locally, but around the world. All right, what do we got going on here? We might bring up the other case here so we can gently move things from one spot to the other. Hope you're doing well out there. It's cold in Calgary and Edmonton. It was snowing this weekend, but I think it's going to start warming up, which will be nice. We've got this whole metal chassis in here that needs to go into the other case. The other case is completely void of anything, so let's take a look at it right now. There we go. Come on. Careful not to crack that. There's this old plastic likes to can get a little brittle sometimes. All right, so we got our other faceplate here. You'll see the Apple logo is nice and colorful there, so that's perfect. We're going to leave that alone. So we're gently just going to move stuff from here over to here. I'm going to make sure that we got all of our cables disconnected from the analog board here. We maybe want to move the metal framework first, possibly. going to need to put the metal framework in so that we have a place to put all the other components. So there's a metal frame that the logic board sits in. And then it also provides a support system for the analog board also sits on there. So we're just going to get this out of here first. There's a fan. I don't know that the original Classic had it must have had a fan in it. Yeah, it's the same design. So we're going to move the metal chassis and the fan. You might be able to take the entire framework with the floppy and the hard drive, which would be nice. So we'll see if we can get away with that. For those of you just joining us, we are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. I like to call this segment Sunday Night Live. So that's kind of what we're up to. I think I have to remove the... we're going to have to remove the hard drive bracket here because it's hiding screws that are underneath. We get it, yeah. So we'll have to take a couple more things out of here, unfortunately, but that's okay. We're going to remove the whole floppy hard drive bracket, and then we can get those other screws out. Oops. We're losing screws here. Let's not do that. Okay, well, if you're going to hide underneath, you can stay there. I don't care. One more screw here. Okay. Other projects we're working on include a heavily tricked out SE30 with lots of upgrades, including power supply, grayscale kit, as well as an 040 accelerator. I'm really looking forward to doing that. Once that's done, then how does this thing come off of here? Oh, we got 2 more screws. Okay. Fun with screws, everybody. Fun with screws. Okay, so that's coming off there. Yeah, I put a Maxtor drive in here, and it's like, I don't know if it's a 320 or what it is, but the original Classic, I think, only came with like a 40 meg drive. Screws over there. What else is going on here? How come that's... Huh. Well, I don't know how many screws we got to take off here. This is, I guess we got to do these as well. Fun, fun, fun. I'm looking forward to trying the original. Sorry, I'm blocking the view here. Don't need to look at my receding hairline in close up. Okay, there we go. Now I can see what I'm doing. So this is a, we got a Maxtor drive in here, but I'm going to try, I've got some 40 meg drives that are original Apple drives. We're going to try putting in there later. Set that over here for now. We've got 2 more Torx, and then this whole metal chassis should come out of here, which will be good. If I recall, sorry, I'm blocking the view again. If I recall, the tube on this thing looks pretty good. I think pretty happy with it. Really need to magnetize this screwdriver some more. Okay, making good progress here. I think this is the last. Ugh. Blocking the view again. Not having a viewfinder is tricky when you're doing a multi-angle stream. Okay, I believe all the Torxes are out of my hair now, so we should be able to pull. There's two little tabs, and then this whole thing pops out. Ah, dear. Okay, so we got a couple more. Yeah, so this is tricky here. Let's just unplug. I'm gonna just do this other Torx here. For those of you just joining us, we are transplanting the parts from a Classic into a Classic 2 case that has been retrobrited. And we're looking forward to having a very shiny, brand new type looking Mac with, yeah, pretty excited about this. So we've got the analog board, the CRT, and the metal chassis all dislodged from the front panel now. So we're going to just gently slide all this stuff over, just like that, without blowing anything up. We're going to slide this thing in. There we go. Okay, and then we're going to put the analog board gently in here. There's some teeth for that to sit on. And yeah, how does that go on there? Okay. Ugh. Okay, that's better. Okay, so the screw holes line up there. That's looking good. We need to, oh, you know what? We need to screw, we got to put the CRT in before we get too excited about nailing the rest of this down. Okay, let's do this gently one at a time. We gotta have the I want to be careful with the threads here because I think some of these are slightly different. I'm going to just double check the threads on these. Okay, that's better. Should probably do the diagonal one here. So we're this is tricky. What I hoped would be simple is not as simple as I'd hoped, but get this figured out in a second here. Okay, we are transplanting the innards of the Classic into a Classic 2. And we are just kind of wrestling with... Let me just loosen this up for a second. I don't want this too tight to start with. We're just putting the CRT bolt, the pin screws back in. But we're there we go. That is a little tricky. I would say this is probably the most challenging part of the equation, is putting the CRT back in place. Okay. That feels much better now. Make sure that's tightened up. Don't want that on the loose side. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to screw the other things into place here. How many screw? Oh, we got the 2 in the front, and then there's 2 in the back. Okay, 2 on the bottom, and then 2 on the top, and then I think all the heavy lifting for the metal chassis is taken care of. It's Sunday Night Live with Computer Compulsive in Craig's basement, and we are transplanting the guts from a classic, which was actually a classic 2, well, the logic board was. The CRT and the analog board are the same, so we really don't need to worry too much about that. You know what? I'm going to screw these screws back in here, because if I don't do it now, I will forget, and then I'll be irritated. That's one of them, yeah. Okay. Don't drop it. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. Ugh. Okay. I'm going to have to fish that other screw out of there. Unfortunately, let's get this other Torx in here, the last one. Okay. We got 2 more screws to do for the drive. Aha! Fun times. Fun times. Okay, well, you know what we're going to do is we're going to get this analog board set up properly in here. Okay, that's good. We're going to get this on here. I don't know if those are the right screws. I should have been paying more attention to what screw is going where. Running a real gong show here, folks. Oh, goodness. Okay, we gotta fish out some screws from underneath here. Okay, and then we have to, there's probably do this vertically upside down. I think there's one more screw here for the analog board. I wonder if that guy's supposed to go up here, I think maybe. Hang on. Let's try this instead. Oh my goodness. What's the deal? Why is this not doing what I want it to do? Huh. That's odd. Well, doesn't feel like it wants to thread. I don't know what I'm doing here. Just one more screw in here, I think. Yeah. Ugh. All right, let's see what we're trying to pull off here. That's weird. I don't know why those things don't want to thread. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm missing another. Oh, there's 2 more screws here. I think these are the ones that go in the corner there. That's part of the problem. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hooray! Okay, that was one of the right ones. And then this goes in here. That's why those weren't threading. They're the wrong screws. Lovely. Okay, we've got the main, okay, so we got oh yeah, the hard drive's got extra screws too. That's what's going on. So there's 2 screws that need to go on there, but we're going to change the hard drive as well before we get too crazy here. All right, I think I feel better about what we're doing. I think for this we're going to put this upside down. But before I do that, well, we don't want to crack the neck here, so we have to just be careful how we're putting screws in. Let's just try this again, but we will prevent this from falling down this time. No, don't fall down. Let's get the top ones in first. Okay, that's good news. We're getting there, folks. Okay, that is better. Analog board is mounted, metal chassis is mounted, CRT is secure. Just got a few more screws to put in, and then we can, like I said, we're going to maybe transplant a different hard drive in here and see what's happening with that. Okay, good. We got that going now. Excellent. Much better progress. Okay, we just got to hold this in place while we make sure this doesn't fall down again. Don't do it. Ah. Ah. Almost there. All right, we're finally. Okay, all the screws are in. We just got to mount the 2 screws for the hard drive. We'll just switch back to the split view. How you doing out there? Are you still with me? This is doing some surgery, moving the guts from one machine into another. The front plate for the Classic is the same as the Classic 2. This one you can see the font is quite worn out. I do have a friend of mine who can print out vinyl labels. It might be cool to get him to reproduce this, wipe this out, and then just transfer a vinyl label back on here. That font is definitely seen better days. It's worn out. This thing even had like a sticker on it, and it just looked, I think it even got snowed on or rained on. And look, there's some spider webs in here, cobwebs. So yeah, I'm going to give this back to Keith, and Keith is going to retrobrite this classic case. The funky thing with the classic case is we actually, even though it's kind of broken, we do have the interrupt switch here. So the weird thing with these classics is the switch is kind of, you can see how it's almost like plastic welded inside. It's a weird design. So like it's actually melted in. So if you wanted to fix that, you'd have to de-plastic weld it, and then, yeah, it's odd. Not sure who made that decision. But the inside of the bucket is very clean. There's no corrosion or anything. So mind you, this was one that Keith retrobrited, so it does look quite good. So, and you'll notice too, on the Classic 2, there's holes on the bucket for the speaker, which is very interesting. So the other machine does not have holes in the side. So you can see here the switch on the Classic is actually in better shape than the Classic 2. But again, you'd have to, there's like some rivets in there. You'd have to, yeah, I don't know. Weird design, but what are you going to do? Is there... Oh, the other thing too I noticed is the Classic. Okay, so there's a metal shield inside one and not the other, now that I'm noticing. But again, the metal shielding is all riveted on. So if you were to try to pull that out, you'd rip all the plastic rivets off. So you can't really take that off and put it someplace else, which is unfortunate. So yeah, well, whatever. Beggars cannot be choosers. So, all right, I'm going to go to the main view here, and we will take a little breather and talk about what the next steps are. So, in my little tickle trunk here, I bought myself a Husky workbench, which is kind of cool, and I've got two, not one but two. So you can see that is an actual Apple 40 megabyte hard drive. It's a Connor mechanism. I want to try using one of these because I think it's already got an OS on it. Ideally, you'd like to have system 7.1 probably for a Classic. I've also got another Connor hard drive here. Slightly different than the other one. They're both CP3040A, made in Singapore. One says made in Singapore, the other one says assembled in Singapore, which is interesting. But the nice thing about these drives is you can see that they've got the Apple firmware on them because they have the Apple sticker, which is neat. So I got two of those, but I want to show you something else that is kind of cool. This is pretty wild, and I almost want to try plugging this in. This is the original mini scribe drives that came in like the SE. I think this is a 20 megabyte drive, so it'd be fun to try one of these. I think Keith gave these to me, and I think he said both of them were not working, but I thought it might be cool to plug them in just to see. Anyways, oh yeah, and you can see here it's got the cool the Apple sticker, so it says 20. So you know that's a 20 megabyte drive right there. So what's the other one? Is it okay, they're both 20s. So yeah, I have two mini scribe drives, and they both have Apple 20 megabyte stickers on them. So when you first bought an SE or an SE30, it came with these mini scribe drives. You can actually see the sticker there. So it's pretty cool. So I got 4 vintage Apple hard drives here. We're going to try the Connor mechanisms first and see what happens. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna remove this Maxtor drive out of this caddy, and then we're going to put the hard disk 40 in. Maybe before we do that, we should just try plugging in with the SCSI cable before we commit to actually doing that. So let's try that first. So I'm gonna have to change the angle of the camera so you can see what's on the screen. We're gonna put the logic board back in here. You can see it there. So we're gonna gently put this back into the slot here. How does this work exactly? Okay, so we've got the little guide rails for this to go into. Get these cables out of the way. We got to plug the floppy drive back in. We got our Molex plug for the hard drive, and we've got, what else is going on here? I think that's it. Sorry, I'll go back to the other angle so you can see what I'm doing. So we're putting this back in. Okay, so that's where it's supposed to be. Our analog board is secure, CRT is secure, the metal chassis is secure. The only thing left to do is install the hard drive. So I'm just going to start plugging things back in here gently, because we can now, we don't have to, we can just leave this alone. So that snaps in. Got our floppy port here. We don't have a battery in here, but that's okay. I don't care about that for now. This is our plug for the hard drive. We got our SCSI cable here. So the standard Apple SCSI cable. We're going to plug that in, make sure it's keyed correctly. That feels weird. I don't want to bend pins. Just going to flip this around, folks. Actually, I'm going to put this vertically so we can see more of what I'm doing before I don't want to bend any pins properly. Or improperly, I should say. So we've got the key is going out. Let's try doing it this way. This is funky. There we go. What's funny about these interfaces is back in the day when you had you know, today we got USB-C. You can't plug it in wrong. It's sending power, it's sending data. And these old cables, these SCSI cables, you know, it's 25 pins, 50 pins. If one pin gets bent, it's game over. It's really amazing how technology with data and power has shifted over the last, you know, 30, 40 years. Okay, so we're going to, I'm just going to hook the Molex and the SCSI up to the drive before I commit to actually mounting it. We'll see what happens. If I'm not mistaken, it seems like, I think one of these drives might have been in one of the Color Classics that I purchased. I guess the only question I have is there any, you know, I kind of want to put a fresh OS, like I said before, just to see if it works. So I'm going to grab my AGB keyboard and mouse, and then we're going to see if we can actually talk to this thing. Classic 2 booting test. Once we know it works, we'll commit to putting the hard drive into the machine for reals. But for now, let's just keep that over here. We're going to plug in the ADB keyboard and mouse, and then I'll move the angle so you can see what I'm doing. And we'll cross our fingers. We need power. I've got a power cable here somewhere. There we go. Okay, so we can do that. Power's in. Let's move the computer so I can show you what I'm doing. Careful not to short anything. Maybe I'm going to unplug the power before I do this. Careful not to pinch the cable too much here. Let's see if you can see that. All right, that's a bit of a better angle. So let's go to the wide angle here. We're going to go ahead and fire this up and see what happens, but we got to hook up power first. And all right, here we go. Chime is good. Hard drive is spinning. Are we going to get anything, or is it nothing happening? I do have my floppy EMU here, so we might be able to install a fresh OS 7 from that, possibly. Okay. Well, that doesn't seem to be working, so I just want to try booting to a floppy for a second and see what happens. I've got this Mac Draw floppy, but I don't know if the Classic supports such older software. Let's just see what happens here. If it's all right, well, we're not having much luck with this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this off, and we're going to plug in the other hard drive and see if there's anything on here, because I think there might be. So give us 1 second. We're just going to unhook the power again. I don't know if this hard drive's dead or if there's just nothing on it. The logic, I didn't get the question mark, so it was either trying to read something and couldn't, or I don't know. We'll try this again though. I don't remember erasing the content of the drive that was in the Color Classic. It had some music software, and I think it was in French too. All right, we're going to boot up again, and I'm going to hold down the mouse button because I don't think that floppy's very happy. If you hold down the mouse button, it's supposed to eject the floppy right away. No, it's doing something. It's making some interesting noises, but I don't know if it's going to boot. There's no contrast adjust on here. You have to do it through software. Well, I can hear the hard drive spinning, but nothing's happening. Okay, you know what? We're going to turn this off. We're going to try again. It feels like the hard drive is working, but I don't know if it's... I don't know. Let's give these things a try here. I want to see if maybe we can get these mini scribe drives happening. We'll give this a try, see what happens. Doesn't hurt to try. It might make a horrendous screeching sound, and then we'll go from there. All right, mini scribe test 1, here we go. Oh, interesting. It does not like the floppy drive that we put in. Let's try holding on the mouse button and see if it ejects. So either this hard drive's not getting power or it's just stuck. Sometimes if you whack the hard drive... All right, well that worked. When you hold down the mouse button when you boot. Okay, at least we're getting a question mark now, so. Let's try the other mini scribe and see what happens. We're not having luck with hard drives here. This is not a surprise, as these things are just like ridiculously old. All right, 3 out of 4 drives say no. I'm going to boot to the floppy EMU with one of the Connors and see if we can at least maybe reformat it and hopefully put a fresh System 7 on it. That would be nice. All right, last drive tests. Cross your fingers, everybody. 3, 2, 1. We are not getting any love here. We've got some flickering on the screen. I wonder what that's all about. All right, well, let's try the original drive that I did have working with this thing and see if that wants to work. I don't know what's... Either all these drives are terrible or I'm just having really bad luck. Yeesh. All right, these mini scribe drives, not happy. We might put them in the freezer and give them a bit of a mallet test. Sometimes these drives they're just really old and sticky and they just don't want to do anything. Here's our floppy emu. This might save the day. We're going to see if we can install OS 7 from this. Hopefully, we'll see. Let's try plugging in my original drive and see if it spins up. This drive is really noisy, so I'll know if it is. There's a bunch of software on here. I think I just got lazy and took my 2SI drive and just put it in here just because I wanted it to work. Here we go. Oh, we're definitely getting some hard drive spinning up noises. There we go. We've got a bootable Mac. Hooray! I still want to try putting a clean System 7 on one of those Connor drives. We have to see if the Connor drive is actually recognized once we boot to it. All right, let's have a look at this. You'll see I have Prince of Persia on here, but the picture's kind of jumping a little bit, which is interesting. Let's try adjusting the brightness. We got After Dark. Let's see if the Flying Toasters wants to work. All right, here we go, Flying Toasters. Look, everybody, Flying Toasters. That's funny. Let's maybe knock that down. Try it again. All right, well, it seems to be working. Let's try Prince of Persia and see what happens. Um, um, All right, well, we got the picture centered, and yeah, it's a little too tall. You don't want it to be that big. It's a little too bright as well. That's better. Let's check out our memory here. Oh, thanks. That's weird. When you adjust the focus, parts of the screen become more focused than others, so it's hard to get everything exactly right unless you adjust the magnets in the CRT. That looks pretty good though. So I still like to try to put a fresh OS 7 onto one of these Connor drives. So I'm going to shut this down, and we're going to try booting with the floppy emu. So just bear with me for 1 second, and we're going to try this again. I think I would like to do that. Shut down. All right, so we got our Classic transplanted. The Classic 2 has a ROM/FPU expansion slot. You can put extra RAM in there. I don't have anything like that. But let's hook up the floppy emulator and see if we can get that up and running. I think, hopefully this is in Mac mode already. You can have Mac firmware or Apple firmware, depending, but I think if Keith and I were playing with this, we had it in Mac mode, I hope. We'll see. Let's turn it on and just find out. Macintosh. Okay, cool. So I want to boot to system disks. Where are they here? Oh, button needs to. The buttons become dislodged inside. It's one thing I don't like about this design is there we go. System disks, 7.1 installer. right, there we go, folks. So we are, see if we can do this, but we need to, if you do not have one of these, I strongly suggest you get one. This is a floppy emu, and it is like a life-saving device. It helps you boot any Mac, anytime, anywhere, all the time. So let's see if we can, mind you, we got to hook the hard drive up to do this, so we're going to have to shut this down again anyways. Tra-la-la. Let's plug one of the Connor drives back in, but we're going to shut the computer down again before we do that. But that's good news, folks. The floppy emu is already in Mac floppy mode, so I like that. For those of you just tuning in, we have been transplanting parts from a Classic into a Classic 2 case. It's been nicely retrobrited, and we are now attempting to install a fresh OS 7 onto the original 40SC hard disk with the actual Connor mechanism. So we're going to turn the computer off and start over. We're hoping that the computer sees the Connor drive, because if it doesn't see it, then that means that there's a problem with the drive or something else is going on. I know the SCSI cable's good because we booted to that other hard drive, so that's one variable out of our hair. So yeah, if this drive is healthy, we should be able to see it when we choose it as a destination for the install. So I'm just going to go back to the split screen here so you can see what's going on. All right, let's turn this back on. Okay, that hard drive just spun up and spun back down again, which is not a good thing. Okay, so this hard drive keeps spinning down. I'm going to shut this off and we're going to start over with the other drive. Because if the drive is spinning up and down and up and down, I can't trust it. Maybe it's not getting enough voltage, maybe the platters are sticking, I don't know, but if you hear a hard drive spin up and down and up and down, there's a good chance you just can't trust it. So just, yeah, why? It'd be nice if there was a USB-C to SCSI adapter and just away you go. All right, once again. Yeah, these plastic buttons are funky. We're loading the first install floppy for system 7.1. And if we can see this drive, then we're going to install a fresh OS onto it. Once, the good news is I'm not hearing the hard drive. Mind you, the floppy emu is, it's like trying to boot from the hard drive because the floppy emu is not showing up on the screen, which is interesting. Okay, well, I don't like to do this, but we're going to do this again, but we're going to plug the hard drive in after the machine's booted. And I know what you're thinking. Don't Don't do that, Craig. That's a bad idea. But I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to unplug power to the hard drive and see if I can just get away with that for now. I just want the machine to boot, and then I want it to see the drive so we can reformat it. Okay, cool. So we're booting to the floppy EMU right now. The hard drive, I've disconnected the power on the hard drive just because the machine won't boot. It's trying to boot from the hard drive to start with, and it's not happy. So once we get into the main screen here, we're going to plug the hard drive back in and see if it shows up as a install destination. If it does, then we're in good shape. The other thing we could do, I've got a HD20 hard drive we could plug in and just boot it from that. These old machines are tricky to boot unless you've got reliable media, so it can be tricky. But if you're a vintage Mac Apple enthusiast and you don't have a floppy EMU, highly recommend you get like one or even two or three of them because they are amazing. Okay, so now it says, hey, I got nothing to install on. Please give me a drive I can install onto, please. So, actually, you know what we should do? We should boot to the disk tools first. Let's see if this wants to show up. I just plugged power in for the hard drive. So now we'll see if it shows up as a destination. Yeah, see right now it should be seeing the drive and it should let me switch disk, and I can't. It's not liking me. Let's just quit for a second and see what happens. I'm going to boot to the disk tools disk and see if it sees it at all. Again, I'm just going to disconnect the power for the drive. Well, we're going to start over here. What? I don't care about... Oh, jeepers. Ugh. Frustrating. Oh my gosh. Jeepers. System 607. Well, we're having a lot of fun here, folks. We're just trying to, I don't know, this is not working out the way I'd hoped. Does not want to give me any love here. I'm going to have to pull out the another hard drive just to figure this out. System disks. I just want to boot the Mac and see if I can resurrect this hard drive. That's all I want to do. I got 6 megabytes of RAM. It should run System Tools or Disk Tools 7.5 without a problem. It's doing something. All right, once we have a desktop, I'm going to plug the hard drive back in and we're going to try to run the HD setup. It should see the Apple firmware on the drive. And it should hopefully let me at least low-level format it. I'd love to... okay, this is good. Disk first aid. Okay, well, let's maybe try that. We just mounted a 1.4 megabyte floppy disk. And we're going to run disk first aid on this this drive here and see if it wants to show up. See if it wants to let us format it or something. I don't know, we'll try. We're going to see if we can see it on the bus here. Searching for SCSI drives. Go ahead and find it. Well, this is crummy. Wacky. This is frustrating. Try this again. All right, we're booting through the disk tools and the floppy emu. We're going to run the HD setup to see if we can see this other drive. If we can, then we'll try formatting it and just see if we can get it going again. It's spinning, but I don't know if it's being recognized or if it's just having some problems. It's weird hearing a fan in these things because all the compacts I have, there's just no fans. There's no fans in the 512. There's no fans in the Plus. There's fans in the SE30s and SE, but yeah. For those of you just joining us, we've been on a little journey of transplanting the guts from a classic bucket into a classic 2 bucket, which my partner Keith lovingly retrobrited, and it looks amazing. We're just trying to get a hard drive up and running so that the classic is sort of like a stock configuration rather than all the crazy mods that we do with blue scuzzies and everything. I thought it'd be nice to have a classic 2 that is just factory logic board, factory floppy drive, and an Apple hard drive. So we've got a Connor 40 SC here. I want to try to see if we can look at it and just format the drive so that it's usable. Maybe I'm just beating a dead horse here, but I kind of like the idea of having an actual Apple hard drive with Apple firmware, just to be able to reformat it and to be able to use it in this machine would be kind of cool. All right, so we've mounted our floppy here. We've got let me go ahead and plug this in here and we'll see what happens. Yeah, we're not having any luck here, folks. This is hard drive is spinning, but the computer is just like, I don't see anything. Yeah, now it's doing its spin up, spin down trick. Well, it's making some different noises now. Well, let's try running disk first aid and see if it sees it. I don't know, it's just not recognizing any drives here. You can't find any drives, eh? Well, how about you're not looking hard enough? Nothing is seeing this drive. Well, I'm just about ready to give up here. It's almost time for bed. Well, folks, we're not having any luck here. So I think what we're going to do is just put the original drive that does work back in and call it an evening. We've been online for almost 2 hours here. So my apologies. I was hoping to do a fresh OS install, but maybe we'll do that another time. We will take a look at... we're going to just install the Maxtor drive that we had in here originally, and we'll put that in. We could also try installing a fresh OS on that, but it doesn't need to be done right now. I need to get some sleep. So I'm going to just put this hard drive back inside the bucket, and then I'm going to close this up. We'll boot it a few times to make sure it works, and then we will bid you adieu from our first official Sunday Night Live, which doesn't have as much music and humor as maybe the actual Saturday Night Live, but that's okay. We're going to turn this off. We're going to plug in the original drive that I had in here. A little bummed out we weren't able to do that. I don't know if these Connor drives are just not happy. I might have some more somewhere else, but we will call it a day for those. All right, so last thing to do is install this drive. In here. How do we get this in here? Okay, yeah, there we go. So we got, where's the 2 screws for that? There we go. Well, thanks for hanging out with me there, folks. Sorry we weren't able to do exactly what I wanted to do, but that's okay. Not everything needs to be perfect on the first try, which is something I'm getting better at. The good news is, oh, jeepers. Yeah, let's not drop screws in with the power on. That's a really bad idea. Okay, I just want to get this one screw in and then we can wrap this up. Ah, he just did it again. Okay, there we go, folks. Wrapping things up. We've got our hard drive back in. We've got our power cable back in. Let's unplug the floppy emu because we don't need that anymore. And we have the bucket with the extra thing on the back. That's great. Let's take this out. And we are now, let me just go back to the overhead angle here. We're now going to put the back bucket on because I am done tinkering in here for a while. We're going to leave that drive in there, the Maxtor. The only thing that was bugging me was that the screen was flickering a little bit, and I don't know why it's doing that. I thought, seems to me that Keith had rebuilt the power supply or the analog board. Not sure. Anyways, let's just slide this in here gently. Make sure we're not missing any of the plastic here. All right, our Classic 2 is back together. All we need to do is put some of the screws back in. I don't like to put the screws in on the top because I gotta get myself a proper torque screwdriver that goes deep in there, but I'm gonna put a couple screws on the bottom. Well, this is not good here. The logic board is not sitting flush with the case for some reason. Why is this a problem? What am I doing wrong? Okay, well, I'd like to know what I'm doing wrong here, people, because it doesn't feel like I'm doing something wrong, but I am. Okay, well, why is the ports not lining up with... All right, well, we're going to, let's just take... There we go, that's better. Take one of these and put this in here. All right, so now we've got the, for some reason the logic board wasn't lined up with the openings in the back, so that has been remedied. Thankfully, I guess I probably should have booted this thing before I plugged it back in, but the other nice thing is we've got all of our rubber feet on the bottom. All 4 of them. All right, let's boot this one more time and then we will call it an evening. Not sure why the screen is flickering, like I said, but it's a minor thing. We can deal with that later. There you have it. Nice new retrobrited Classic 2 case. What used to be a Classic in a crummy case is now a Classic 2 in a much nicer case. There's a little bit of dirt on here, but that's okay. We're going to just boot this up one last time before we hit the sack. My name is Craig. For those of you hanging out with me, thank you so much. We are computer compulsive. This is our first live broadcast. Sorry about the last time I did a live broadcast, the audio died about halfway through. I see that the audio is going through on my streaming software, so I'm hoping that you can still hear me. And if you can't, then I may have to figure out a plan B. But we got power hooked up, we got ADB hooked up. We're going to boot this guy one more time, and then we're going to call it an evening. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. We got a chime. It's good news. You can hear the hard drive spinning. Also good news. We adjusted the geometry of the... I got some crud on here. I got to clean up my soldering pad. It's a little disgusting. Like, this is retrobrited? How come it's so dirty? I adjusted the geometry of the screen so it's a little bit brighter, a little bit bigger on the screen. Hooray! All right. Classic 2 is booting, and this is a good thing. So again, one of the nicer compact Macs I have. The CRT is in great shape, nice and bright. I just adjusted the brightness and focus a little bit, and also the geometry. There's no burn-in on the CRT. It is in very good shape. And we've got my Mac Store drive that I installed is working good. Let's take a look at Prince of Persia one more time just before we say goodnight. And this is a 68030. What other games do we have in here? Lode Runner, Tetris Max, Shuffle Puck, Gauntlet. Oh, that's funny. Let's see if Dark Castle wants to run. Look at that. Classic Mac gaming right there. Dark Castle, everybody. All right, everybody, it's time to say goodnight, but thank you for hanging out with me. This has been Computer Compulsive Sunday Night Live. We just transplanted a Classic into a Classic 2 case. The Classic 2 case is beautiful. We were not able to resurrect some of our old hard drives, but that's okay. We just put in the Mac Store that I had from before. So stay tuned for more Marcintosh content. Hope you enjoyed that. A little dry in spots, but just watching how I work and what we're doing. I'm very happy with this Classic 2. It's in good shape. We got 6 megs of RAM and we have a 320 megabyte hard drive. And it's actually a lot quieter than I remember it felt. When I first installed that hard drive, I thought it was obnoxiously loud, but it's actually not too bad. So with that, I will bid you adieu. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.